Okay, and we're filming. Let's go. All right, let's officially begin. Welcome to Math 205, Summer 2016 at the City College of New York. It's called Elements of Calculus 1. So what this class is, it's kind of, because we have different disciplines at City College, some students might need to know different things from Calc 1 than other students. So if you're like in the hard sciences, like if you're a physics major or a math major or an engineering major, you'll take a different Calculus 1, 2, 3 sequence than this class. You'll take 201 Calculus 1, 202 for Calc 2, 203 for Calc 3. If you're other disciplines, like if you're a biology major or economics or management or business or something else like that, this is the Calc 1 you should be taking. So be sure, based on your major, that you're in the right class. And we'll talk about that later as well when we get to that questionnaire. It's happened to me several times where students come to me in the middle of the semester, it's like, I don't think I need this class. Like, you need to make sure. If you're not sure if you should be in this class, you better make sure that you check that out very soon. Because there are two different Calc 1s at this college. And someone was asking earlier, what's Math 209? So Math 209 is the Calc 2 that goes with this Calc 1, right? Math 202 would be the Calc 2 that goes with the other Calc 1. So you might not need that Calc 2. If you're a bio major, you'll need that Math 209. Probably psychology, Bachelor of Science would need 205 and 209 as well. I'm not sure, but yeah, you had a question?
I have a question. Are you teaching 209 in the summer too? Like right after this course?
No. I actually taught 209 in the spring. This is the only class I'm teaching this in this summer. So I taught 209 spring just passed and the previous spring. And by the way, the lectures for those are actually on YouTube. You can actually check them out. So yeah, I've never filmed 205 before. I started filming my classes a couple semesters ago. I guess spring 13 was the first time I started. You know, kids really like it. So, you know, just, you can go back and watch it if you're absent from class. You can catch up. If you don't like taking notes during class and listen at the same time, you can listen here and take notes at home, or take notes here and listen at home. Whatever. I will upload them to YouTube. You will be able to see them at this website, which I'm going to be talking about. I'll post a link to the playlist here. I'll put the whole semester up, so starting today. So yeah, first things first, let's actually read through the syllabus, get to know what the rules of the course are, where we're going to go in. Then I'll probably just talk about the course a bit in general. And yeah, so let's just begin. So like I said, Elements of Calculus. That's the schedule, that's the time, that's our section. I'm actually getting over a bit of a cold. My body doesn't know how to deal with the nice weather because it's been so crappy for so long. It's like, nice weather, what do we do? Give him a cold. So crazy. Okay, so my name is Jhevon Smith. You can call me Jhevon, it's fine. You don't have to be like Mr. Smith or Professor or Mr. S. Jhevon is cool. That's my email. Note that email because I'll be asking you to email me in a bit. Office hours, I will have office hours. You'll be able to meet me by appointment. I also work at the tutoring center. I'm going to talk about that in a bit as well, so you can see me there. This is my main website at City College, right here. Might not be the main concern to you, but for this class, there's also a web page, which you can find here. That's the last website you see right here. The textbook we'll use using is Stewart and Clegg, Brief Applied Calculus. The textbook looks like this. I don't recommend you buy it if you're thinking about buying it. I don't think you'll need to. There are copies at the library, so you can probably get it at the library. You can make photocopies if you want for minimal cost. You can also check them out for 2 hours at a time. I think it's the science library, yeah, in the Marshak. So you can check it out for like 2 hours at a time. So you can check it out and do your homework. Maybe make copies, take photos of the homework or whatever. Yeah, so you probably don't need to buy it because you'll probably use it this semester and then never again. It's not like you're a math. Like I kept all my math textbooks from when I was undergrad because I was a math major. You know, math is my thing. But I don't think you guys would really keep this after it. So I wouldn't really go through the trouble of buying it. Yes.
So we're not going to be using it.
We are using this, and I'm going to be assigning homework from this, but I don't think you have to own your own copy. I don't think it's completely necessary. You can get it if you want to, but I don't think it's completely necessary. Because you can get access to this freely on campus, whenever you're on campus. So yeah, but that's the textbook in case anyone's interested. This is the math department website. You should have that. Here's the 205 website, the website for this course in general. That's also important because I will be referring you there to get information about the course, like seeing past finals and things like that, which we'll talk about later. So yeah, that's what the websites are for. Calculators are not permitted in this class. If you've been taking math here at City College for a while, you've gotten used to that by now. Yeah, we don't really use calculators. We do in 209, but it's more often than not, we do not allow calculators. So if you're going to have to take 209, if you're like a bio major or psychology major, you will need a C minimum in this class. Technically a D is passing, so if you don't need this as a prereq for something else, a D should be fine in general, but I would talk to your advisor about that, talk to whoever, talk to your department to make sure. Yeah, but as you can see here, as I think, why not aim for an A, you know, that's how I think of it. Departmental policy, I have to give your final exam 40% weight of your entire grade. I don't have a choice in that. The other 60% is where I have a choice, and this is how we're breaking it down. So I'll be giving quizzes at least once per week. I'll drop 2 quizzes. They account for 20% of your grade. Homework, I'm actually giving you credit to do your homework, which you should be doing anyway. You get 5% for doing that. Participation, show up all the time. You get another 5% for doing that. So nice. Yeah, I'm so nice now that I think about it. In-class tests, I'm going to give 4. I will drop 1. So 3 of the in-class tests will be going towards your grade, and overall that will count for 30% of your grade. The best test to drop is the last one. You know, just for students tend to like not take anything seriously, and they fail the first one, and they're like, oh, now I'm gonna get serious, and then they have to get the other 3 down. So I really work hard now, and then the last one you can sort of like, I can get it if I want to or not. You know, take some pressure off during finals week. You don't want to put yourself in a bad position. So I really suggest that you hit the ground running. And yeah, the final is the other 40%, so that would make 100% of your grade. And yeah, there's the grade chart here. It's the usual grade chart. It tells you what gives you an A and an E and all that. Okay. Next page. No extra credit, no makeups, right? So basically, don't be absent, don't be sick, don't have an emergency. Attendance, I am taking attendance like I said because I'm giving you credit for it, so I might as well take it seriously. So I took attendance today, make sure I didn't call your name, you see me at the end of class. So you're late if you arrive after your name is called, and if you accumulate 5 unexcused absences, I can actually fail you for that, and I probably have to. So yeah, if you need to be absent, just email me an excuse at least within 1 day before, provide evidence if necessary, that sort of thing. Moving on to my expectations, work ethic, don't slack off, especially in the summer. Things are gonna move quickly, right? We're having like 4 classes a week back to back to back to back, right? It's not a lot of turnover, you're really gonna have to keep grinding it out. We have a long weekend, but other than that, you gotta keep at it, don't slack off. In general, I also, on tests, on quizzes and tests, I actually like giving bonus problems. So the material that comes on a test, which I'll talk about later, I'll usually put some bonus problems on the next few sections that are not covered by the test, sort of as a reward to people who want to forge ahead. It'll probably be hard to do that in the summer, but I really recommend you try if possible. It'll make things that much easier for you. Also, homework, I'm giving credit for homework, so we do have standards for homework as well. Late homework is not accepted, and I need you to hand in your homework according to these criteria here, which somehow every semester some student always manages to mess up, even though I do the writing. And I see this in the beginning of class, but we'll try again anyway. Show all your work. Don't just write the answers because you could just copy them from the back of the book. I need to know that you're actually attempting to do some work. Staple your homework. Don't just put the dog ears on it and loose leaves all over the place. Keep organized. And also to keep organized, make sure you label your homeworks properly. I want you to label them with your name, the homework number, and the topics or the section number. So let me talk about that for a while. Go to the third to last page at the back. This is the list of all the homework problems for the entire semester, so you know them ahead of time. You should go ahead and do them all now if you want to. So how to label homework. So, for example, homework is due every time I finish a topic. The homework for that topic is due the next class. So when we are doing that, I want you to label it with your name, the topic number, and the section number. So for example, after I finish the first topic, section 1.1 functions, and you're handing in the homework, it's going to be, you have the paper here. It's definitely going to be several pages. So be a staple here. You're going to have your name, first thing. Write it properly. And you're going to have something like homework 1, right? Or you can write topic 1 if you prefer. Right? Now that number, this number, comes from the leftmost column, right? So when you're labeling your homework's 1, 2, 3, blah, 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 it's the number on this edge here, right? So that's homework 1, and then you're going to label the section. So you're going to do 1.1, you can write section 1.1, and if you want, you can write the title. Right? And then you do the homework. Right? So this is how the heading of your homework should be. Right? I should see your name, the homework, the section that you're doing, and then you continue the homework. Yes?
Written out or can be typed?
I wouldn't take the time to type it. Handwritten. Okay. It's the summer. You're already going to be pressed for time. Typing, I think, for most people would take longer. But hey, if you type faster, you can type. I don't particularly care. But usually I'm talking about handwritten homework. But the heading is important to be organized for both our sakes. So yeah, that's how I want you to hand in homework. Going back to the homework section, only one homework per staple group. So let's say in one class I actually cover two sections in the book. So the next class you'll have 2 sections of homework. I don't want you to staple both sections in one. Have a separate package for homework 2. Right? Staple them separately. Keep the topics separate. 5 be yeah.
But we can hand in like 1 and then 2.
Yeah, and then both of them, but keep them separate. Right. Yeah, that's it. You do that and you get the homework credit. That's it. You don't have to get everything right. Just attempt everything, or most things, right? So just try. I'm not going to be grading homework for correctness for the most part. I want to see that you guys are actually doing some work. So I'm grading mostly for attempt here, and if you can follow instructions, which is also important. More expectations. I expect you to remember all the math you've done before. Most people usually don't. If you don't, you need to get on that. Make sure that by the end of this week you remember everything, right? Because math is cumulative. Each class is built on what came before. So if you don't remember your algebra and your pre-calc, Calc 1 is going to be very difficult for you. You need to go back. You need to look that stuff up. There's actually a saying that I failed algebra and calculus. Right? It's really the thing that's going to get you if you think about it. It turns out that the calculus itself is not that hard. The calculus is actually the easy part. Right? If you have a homework and it's like 10 lines, the calculus happens in the first 1 or 2 lines. The rest of it is algebra and pre-calc, right? It's about simplifying and getting to an answer and interpreting that answer, right? That's the majority of what you'll be doing. The calculus is just, there's a little theory on top of it that's going to help you set the problem up, right? So you are really going to need to be on top of your algebra and pre-calc. Don't think that you're going to come to this class and it's going to be fine if you forgot all that stuff. It's not going to be fine. It's going to be very not fine. So I get it. This stuff is easy to forget if you're not keeping up with it, but now I'm warning you, so you need to go back and look over all that stuff you forgot. And also in this class, getting to the scary part of the syllabus now, we have what we call blasphemies. Does anyone know what a blasphemy is? You have to explain that word. Do I have to explain the word blasphemy? Sometimes students ask me, even at the end of the semester, Professor, what's a blasphemy? You're like, the whole semester. It's a word, it has a very religious connotation. It's kind of like, basically back in the old days, those things that if you do them, you get stoned to death for. Like that kind of offense, that's called a blasphemy. So yeah, there are things that you should not do no matter what, right? Doesn't matter if someone's holding a gun to your head, do not do these things, right? So, I put them in a mantra for you so they're easy to remember. The first one is, I must not cancel across sums. Does anyone know what cancel across sums refers to? I will show you an example. So right now, I'm going to go through them very slowly because it's very serious. Here's the first thing. For example, so you see something like that, right? Oh my God, I can cancel the 2's. No, you cannot cancel the 2's. This is not the same as x plus 1. You cannot cancel the 2's. This is called canceling across a sum. If there are a plus sign or a minus sign separating terms, you cannot cancel. Same thing if you had an x minus 2 over 2. You cannot cancel the 2's. No. You cannot cancel if there's a plus or a minus sign separating terms. You can cancel when there's multiplication. So if you had some like 2 times x plus 1 over 2, now we can cancel the 2's because there's a multiplication here between the two terms. Right? Here, cannot cancel the 2's because it's separated with a plus sign or a minus sign. Here, it's attached to something with a multiplication sign. I can cancel in this case. I cannot cancel in this case. This is very illegal. This is a blasphemy. Does everyone understand? Okay. The second blasphemy. I will not distribute powers across sums. What does that mean? Well, a very common mistake. A student will see something like x plus 2 squared and they're like, oh, it's x squared plus 4. It is not x squared plus 4. Right? What is this?
It's x plus 2 times x plus 2.
Right, but at the end when you expand it out,
FOIL.
yeah, you FOIL and then what would it become?
4x.
Right, there are 3 terms, right? This guy is missing a whole middle term, right? This means you take x plus 2 times x plus 2, right? A power is telling you how many times you're multiplying the thing by itself if it's an integer power. And then you'd have to FOIL. You'd have to multiply out using the distributive property, add the guys up together and redistribute. You can do this in a formula. You can just remember that a plus b all squared is equal to a squared plus 2ab plus b squared. Right? Similarly, a minus b all squared is equal to a squared minus 2ab plus b squared. But you cannot just take a power and put it across here. You cannot distribute across a sum. Again, there's a plus sign here. You cannot just attach a power to each part. One thing that you will not, gets a lot of other students is that they often forget that radicals are also powers, right? this holds for radicals as well. A radical is just a fractional power. You have to remember that. So if you see something like the radical of x squared plus 4, and that's x plus 2. It's not x plus 2. It is not x plus 2. You can't take this. It's illegal. It's not true, right? Because a radical, what that means, when you see a radical, it means, what does it mean as a power?
1/2.
It means the 1/2 power. So when you're saying radical this plus radical that, what you're actually doing is you're putting the power across a sum, right? It is illegal to do this. It's not true, right? This looks nothing like x plus 2, right? I mean, if you look at the graph of this guy, for example, x squared plus 4, that graph is going to look something like this. While x plus 2, y equals x plus 2, that's going to look like that. They're totally not the same thing. Yeah, so this includes radicals, right? Once there's a plus or a minus sign between things, you cannot apply a radical to each individual term. If there's a plus or a minus sign between things, you cannot distribute any power between each individual term. You have to multiply them out, you have to FOIL them. A lot of times you'll know formulas for them. It's probably worth your time to memorize the formulas for squares and cubes. So that is called distributing powers across sums. Does everyone understand what I mean by this? Okay, don't do it. I must not divide by 0. As crazy as it sounds, I've seen people attempt this. If you see something like x over 0, this is meaningless. Cannot divide by 0. I've seen people write, oh, 2 over 0 is 0. No, it's not 0. Or I've seen people write, oh, 2 over 0 is infinity. No, it's not infinity. It does not make sense to divide by 0. We're going to cover a topic called limits, and it's going to seem like we're dividing by 0, but we're not. We'll deal with that when we get to it. But don't divide by 0. If there's anything where in your answer it just says something over 0, you did something wrong, or it means the problem had no solution, right? Don't have this and then tell me it's something else, right? It's not true. You can't divide by 0. Division by 0 makes no sense. Something else. Use brackets. So, well, you guys have, we'd cover composite functions again. But let's say I had something like x plus 4 subtract 2x plus 1. How would you write that down? How would you compute that? What would you write down if I asked you to find that?
X plus 4 minus, so x plus 1. X.
Parentheses. See here?
Yeah.
This is important. You need to know when parentheses are important. Usually if you're subtracting something, open a parentheses, right? Just to be safe, right? It's really only really important when you have several terms or you have things being separated by plus or minus. But it's always, once you're subtracting something, open a parenthesis, right? Because you'll never know when you mess up. So this is really minus 2 is minus 1. That negative sign has to distribute, right? And a lot of people, they'll just write x plus 4 minus 2x plus 1, and then they'll forget at the end that this 1 is actually being subtracted. It's not being added, right? I know a lot of students who'd be like, yeah, but I know the parentheses should be there. You know, I know it in my head. Trust me, when you're on a test and you're under time pressure and I'm like, 5 minutes left, and you're freaking out, you're not going to remember that there were supposed to be parentheses there. I see it all the time. Right? Just Be pedantic and put the parentheses there. It takes a split second to do it, and it can save you so much headache. Trust me, so much headache. I just finished grading finals, and the amount of mistakes that people made because of that was unbelievable. And that's at Calc 2. Do not do it. Another place where this might come in handy is, we're going to be talking about this expression a lot as well eventually, but sometimes we like define a function x, f of x equals x squared plus 3x plus 1. Right, so now in pre-calc, at some point you might have been asked to say something like evaluate f of x plus h minus f of x over h, right? Now they'll ask you about that guy. It's called the difference quotient, right? So in algebra and pre-calc, they'll ask you to do this all the time. They'll never tell you what it's for, where it's from. In this class, you're going to learn where it's from. It's actually a very important expression. But yeah, so suppose I give you a function and I say evaluate this. Like, what would you do? By the way, what does f of x plus h look like?
Everywhere you see x, just put x plus h.
Right. So this says, if there's an x here, it goes here and it goes here. So if I put an x plus h there, it's going to go here, it's going to go here, and this takes effect. So wherever there's an x, I'm going to open a parenthesis. And instead of writing x, I'm going to put x plus h plus 3, open a parenthesis. Instead of x, I'm going to put x plus h plus 1. Right? So that's my f of x plus h. Right? Now once I put a minus sign here, this guy, I have to open a parenthesis. Right? And then I'm going to write f of x, which is this guy. X squared plus 3x plus 1. Close parenthesis. You see this? I don't like writing the word parentheses. I call it brackets. Right? These are really important. Right? To know when you have to use them. Usually if you're subtracting something, you're going to have to put it in. If you're multiplying things where there are several terms in each one, you're going to have to put it in over h. Right? And then of course you'll expand this, you'll cancel it and all that stuff, you'll simplify. We'll do tons of that. Maybe we'll just for fun, just finish it. Just for fun, might as well. So what would this look like? So look at this part. What's that going to be? That's going to be x squared plus h squared, right? No. Right, you do that and I kill you. X squared plus 2xh plus h squared, right? You do not distribute powers across sums. This is kind of what I'm talking about. These are the mistakes where it's not going to be the main part of the problem. It's like in doing something else, figuring something else out, these guys will pop up. And you need to recognize, hey, I can't do that. I better remember it, right? So I can give you this, ask you to do this, but then you end up in a situation where you're tempted to distribute powers across sums. You're tempted to forget a parenthesis, right? All this stuff, it's going to add up, it's going to build, it's going to snowball, and your life will end up an extreme mess. Right, so here we have to FOIL. We're going to have these three terms. Here I have to distribute. So there's that parenthesis again, which is going to be pretty important. So that's plus 3x plus 3h. Right? Plus that 1. Now, here this negative sign is distributed across all these three terms. So it's a minus x squared minus 3x minus 1. All over. What happens now?
Cancel. 3x, x cubed, x squared.
Right, the x squares, I have a plus x squared and a minus x squared, so they kill each other. And I have a plus 3x and a minus 3x, they kill each other. I have a plus 1 and a minus 1, they kill each other. What do we have now?
2x squared.
2xh plus h squared plus 3h all over h. I can just cancel these two h's, right?
No.
Right, do that and I kill you. Okay, so you cannot cancel across sums. Remember, there are plus signs here. You cannot cancel across a sum. What do?
Factor the h out.
You factor the h out. Notice that there's an h that's common to every term. So what I'm going to do is I'm going to factor that h out. Now there's a multiplication separating the h from the other term. Now I can cancel the h. And this will be the final answer. Right? So notice that in asking you to do one problem, all these opportunities to make certain mistakes crop up. These are the mistakes, in this list are the mistakes that I have found through my experience of teaching for 7 years. 2 classes a semester on average. 200 students every year. I see these are the mistakes that they make most often that causes the most disaster. So this is how this problem would have been done. This should be the answer you should get. So it's about not distributing powers across sums, foiling when you need to, using parentheses when you need to, not canceling across sums. All these things in a single problem, you can have opportunities to make these mistakes. Always be vigilant and never, ever, ever make one of these mistakes. Okay, after that, so what do I have in bold here, just to show you how serious I am? What's the penalty for doing one of these mistakes?
A 0.
Oh.
Okay,
That's
I know it's ridiculous. But we're top 1 students, we're big kids now, okay? We're big kids now. We have responsibilities, stuff to take care of. Yeah, you do this, I give you 0, and I stop grading your paper. Because in my experience, people who do this, they end up failing anyway. It's a waste of my time. Yeah. Moving on. These other 2 rules, you're not going to really know about them until I actually do them in class, but I will talk about them when we get to them. They're not as bad. They're not blasphemy. They're just really bad mistakes. I wouldn't give you 0 for everything for doing them. Yeah. So yeah, very serious. Avoid these pitfalls. You will be a better math student. Okay. So make sure you fully understand what these mistakes are so you know how to avoid them. Right? So if you ever get to a point, right? So if you're ever at a point where you could do one of these things where you're like, right? So if you end up here in a math problem and you're like, oh, I don't know what to do next. What do I do? What do I do? Maybe cancel the 2s. Right? If you're not sure what to do, you know what? Just leave it. It's better for you, right? Avoid making the pitfall. Just avoid it. Just after that, you get to this point, you don't know what to do. Just write whatever, right? I don't know, Mary had a little lamb. Jesus saves. Whatever you want to write, or write nothing. Draw a pony. Do not do anything but cancel those 2s. It's killer. Okay. And the scary part of the syllabus. Moving on. Contact, very important. My email is on the first page. At the end of today's class, everyone needs to email me at that email address, telling me your name and the class and the section that you're in. I'll be adding you to a mailing list, which I will be emailing important announcements from time to time and giving you advice and tips as needed. Yeah?
Just out of curiosity,
Yeah.
is this okay?
Yeah.
Awesome.
Yeah, so just your name, the section, the class and the section. My name is Jhevon Smith. I'm in your Math 205 1XW class. That's fine, right? I'll add you to a mailing list, which I will give you, if I need to contact you guys for any important reason, I will through that email address. Very serious that email, a lot of things. I'll also be, I use an online system to keep your grades. So I'll also, when you send me your email, I'll add you to that system so I can send you your report cards. Right? So you'll always see an up-to-date grade of where you stand, and you'll be able to see what grades I have for you. Right? So if there's any mistakes, you can tell me, hey Jhevon, I did this homework and it was a 0 grade. Right? It's keeping you informed. Right? So be sure to email me here so I can put you on all my mailing lists and I can add you to that report system. Feedback. I encourage it, right? So you can always give me feedback, because it's my job to actually teach you. I actually want you to learn. I'm not just here to talk for no reason. So yeah, I encourage you to give me feedback. Just make sure it's constructive, okay? So don't be like, your teaching sucks. Just say, your teaching sucks because, you do this, you do that. Probably you should do this better. Maybe you should talk a little louder. Maybe you should talk a little softer. Just tell me what would make the experience better for you to learn from, so that we can all get out of this better people. There's an anonymous feedback feature on my website, so if you don't want to reveal your identity, you can give me feedback there. But yeah, I won't downgrade you for your comments anyway. But if you're suspicious, don't want to say something bad and then gives me enough. I'm not going to, but if you're suspicious, you can use the anonymous feedback and get that done. Help, if you need help, and there's no shame in that. Do not feel shame if you need help. Everyone needs help, especially in math. Math is not straightforward for a lot of people. Free tutoring is available at this location, the Marshak Building, room 418S. That is the Math and Physics Tutoring Center. So if you have troubles with math or physics, you can go to that location. Monday through Thursdays, 12 to 5. Tutoring starts tomorrow, so they're open as of tomorrow. Right? So if there's anything you want to brush up on tonight, you want to go home and start brushing up on your algebra, you can go there tomorrow and ask a tutor to help you catch up quicker or whatever. Right, so that's a fantastic resource. A lot of students use that to great success. I'm also a tutor there, so you'll see me there a lot of the time. So you can come and ask me, ask me about stuff that's confusing you. I listed a lot of online resources here, like math forums, YouTube, Khan Academy, all that good stuff. There's a site here that I really like, Wolfram Alpha.
Oh, who doesn't?
Surprisingly, not a lot of people know about this. Every time I say it every semester, what's that? It's a really awesome website, right? If you don't know what Wolfram Alpha is, you need to get to know Wolfram Alpha, right? It's basically it's a website where you can actually type in your math questions and it'll actually give you an answer. So it will be something like, I don't really want to use a calculus. So yeah, so later we're going to be talking about things like derivatives. So I might ask you to say, differentiate this or find the derivative of this, right? You can literally go and say something in Wolfram Alpha. You can type, find the derivative of, let's say I actually find the derivative of x squared. So you put x caret squared plus 1. And Wolfram Alpha will actually tell you the answer. It will tell you the answer, right? Or say, well, your answer should be 2x, right? And it might even draw a graph for you. It'll say, okay, this is the graph of the derivative, going through the origin, right? So this is f prime, and then it'll say, this is x squared plus 1, it looks like this, and it'll give you a graph, and it'll give you all this information, just for free. And you just type in, like in English, you type a phrase in. How do I do this? How do I find the derivative, right? Even for this problem, if you're doing this, let's say you're doing extra practice, and this is an even problem. So the answer isn't in the back of the book. You can actually type it, right? So you want to do extra practice, but the answer isn't in the back of the book, and the tutoring center is closed or whatever. You can go to Wolfram Alpha. You can type in f of x equals x squared plus, well, in the computer you'll use that caret, x squared plus 3x plus 1, find f of x plus h minus f of x over h. Now the computer is unforgiving with parentheses as well, so you'd have to put parentheses here, and it will actually do it for you. And it will tell you the answer, you can check your answer, right? So it's really nice. So you can sort of like type in, you tell it what you want to do. You can type in this and you can tell it, find f of 1, and it will tell you what f of 1 is, it will plug it in for you, it will give you an answer. Right? You can ask it to do a lot of things, right? You can type f of x equals x plus 1, g of x equals x squared plus 2, find g of f of x. You can type that in and it will tell you the answer, right? So you can check your answer. It's a really cool website. Highly recommend it. I use it myself all the time. Yeah, so Wolfram Alpha, check that out. Yeah, a lot of resources. Yeah, for Calc 1, there are tons of resources everywhere. tons of guys on YouTube that will do videos on this, so it shouldn't be hard to get help with this. You have that tutoring center if you prefer the in-person thing. Yeah, your classmates, also a fantastic resource. I recommend that you get the phone number of someone in this class. You guys can have study groups or just to touch base with if anything goes wrong. And of course, there's always me. I know I scared you guys with the blasphemy thing, but I'm actually pretty nice if you come and ask me questions. You don't have to be afraid. I won't bite you or anything. Yeah, so, yeah, and the usual class rules, don't be boisterous. No eating in class. You can drink if you need your coffee at this time to stay awake. Don't cheat. Had a couple of problems with that last semester. Yeah.
Do we get like a 5-minute break?
In general, no. No, I don't really get a break. Like I've taught Calc 3 in the summer before, and that was like a 3-hour length. Like then I'd give you a break. But for 1 hour 40 minutes, it's actually a pretty normal size class time. I wouldn't really give you a break.
Just if you guys insist, like I'm dying, Jhevon.
Maybe, but I didn't plan on doing that. Yeah, here I also included the academic calendar for important dates that might be of use to some of you. I'm not sure, depending on what's going on in your life. Again, just to keep you informed. Like I said, here are the next page is all the homework topics that you need to be able to do. List of homeworks. So, as I said, once I finish a section in class, you need to do these problems, hand them in the next class. Course learning outcomes, I have to give those to you. It's what you're expected to learn by the end of the course. We're accredited, so I have to give you that. And at the end, there's a questionnaire that I recommend that you fill out. You fill it out, just attach it, and then hand it in to me before you leave. So you can probably start working on that now.
What's this course learning outcomes thing?
Oh, it's just something what we expect you to learn at the end of the course, what you should be able to do at the end of the course. So fill that out. In the meantime, I can take questions if you guys have any about how anything will work or what's going to be happening.
So like how many sections a day do you think we're going to get?
Oh, it will vary. Some sections are really short. So yeah, I mean like the first, like I expect to get to the first 2 sections in a class and maybe even start the 3rd section. But something like 1.5 and 1.6 will probably take entire classes to themselves. Curve sketching is a long thing as well. That will take a class to itself, maybe even 2 classes. It really depends on the topics. I can't say ahead of time. It depends on the topics. Some are short, some are longer. Yeah. Like topics 12 and 13, I could finish in a single class. But there are other topics where it'll take the whole class. So it'll really vary. Any other questions? Yeah, so according to my list here, a lot of you are undeclared, so I don't really even know what your backgrounds are, so it's important that I know that from the questionnaire and whether you really need this class. I see a lot of management people, psychology, there's an architecture person. Interesting. Oh, there are 2 architects. We need 205 for architecture now?
Yep.
It used to be up to like pre-calc, once upon a time. Now they have to do calc 1.
You didn't ask for a name on the questionnaire, do you?
No, it's anonymous. So yeah, a lot of this stuff, the algebra thing, simplifying, factoring, it's stuff you're gonna have to do on your own. I can't really spend class time talking about it as much as I'd love to. I'll try to be as comprehensive as possible when I'm teaching stuff, but some things I just can't go over. So you're really gonna have to take it upon yourselves to start to review this and utilize all these resources I'm telling you about, like the tutoring center, right? So if you know you have trouble with algebra and pre-calc, you barely passed and you took it like 5 years ago, 10 years ago, go to the tutoring center and get up to speed. The tutors there can help you get up to speed really quickly. So I suggest you take advantage of things like that. Calculus part is the easy part, as I'm saying, so don't worry. Once you pass algebra and pre-calc, you should be okay in this class. It's not something to worry about in general. It's going to be the algebra and the pre-calc that will get you, if anything. So for now, tips to do well in this class. The usual, it's a math class, so really just do all your homework, stay on top of it, utilize the tutoring center, get help when you need it. As far as when studying is concerned, make sure that you know definitions and formulas. That's going to be really important. So if you do your homework on a whole section talking about the derivative, and I ask you, what's a derivative? You should be able to tell me, right? So little things like that, just knowing what things are, what they do, what they mean, can really go a long way, right? So a lot of times when you get like stuck in an exam on a problem, you don't know how to approach it. That's the kind of knowledge that's going to help you figure out how to dig yourself out of the hole, right? So I might ask you, oh, find the extreme points on this function. And then you start to think, what's an extreme point? Right? Well, in a region, it's the highest point or the lowest point. Okay, how would I get to the highest point or lowest point? Well, a high point is like if I'm going up on this side and I'm going down on this side. So, hey, the derivative tells me when I'm going up and down, right? So I can use the derivative, right? You figure it out, right? Once you know what these terms actually mean, it's easy to like follow your nose. So I know a lot of students who, they just mindlessly grind through homework problems, but they don't pay attention to what the phrases mean, which it's a losing battle, right? I could give you the simplest instructions. If you don't know the language that I'm talking to you in, you won't be able to follow the instructions, right? I could just say, just get up and go stand over there. But if I say it in a language you don't understand and I don't use any gestures, you're not going to know what the hell am I talking about. It could be the simplest thing in the world, right? So make sure you actually know the definitions, you know what things are, you know what they mean, right? So it's not just, about a formula. Tell me what it means. How do you interpret it? And in this class especially, it has a lot of applications to like economics and biology. So a lot of times we're not just going to be doing math in a vacuum. There's going to be some sort of application, some interpretation. When we do this math, what does it mean for this situation? And you're going to have to figure that out. So, yeah.
One thing I've noticed, because I've actually taken, now I can say I've taken this course solo ways till I actually get through it, but one thing I can actually say is I've already taken the engineering calculus, which is Math 201. I didn't mean to say I didn't do really good at it, but the thing is, one thing I've noticed with the engineering calculus is it kind of seems out of touch. Hey, here's how this formula works. Here's how you use it.
Yeah.
Okay, first off, I'm confused with all these variables. Second off, what's this even good for?
Yeah, I don't know. It depends on how it's taught. Sometimes, for the engineering especially, you don't really talk about applications until you get to your engineering classes. At some point, they're just like, just learn the math. When you get here, we'll tell you what it's about. I know sometimes it can be that way, but I'm going to try as much as possible to give you some context or some interpretation of what we're doing and why we're doing it. So calculus is about, if you want to talk about topics, it's kind of about derivatives and integrals, basically, and their applications. We'll talk about the mathematical definitions and what these mean specifically, but more or less you can think of a derivative as a rate of change, right? How fast something is changing, right? And in life, everything changes, right? Things move at a certain speed, decay happens over time, right? Anything that's moving or changing over time, calculus derivative is a nice way to actually measure that or model that. So that's kind of the reason behind it, right? So you see something happening in the real world, right? So something is, like you have a radioactive something and it's decaying, or you have a bank account and it's growing. And you want to measure how something is growing or how something is decreasing, how something is increasing, how something is decreasing. Calculus is what's going to help you with that, right? That's sort of always the goal behind it. judging how fast something increases or decreases. That's what differential calculus is about. That's what most of our class is going to be about. 3/5, 4/5 of the class will be doing derivatives and applications of them. It's talking about basically how fast something changes and why, what does it mean, and how can we model this and calculate it, right? And make predictions, right? I know this happened in the first 10 days, what's going to happen in the next 10 days, you know? Things like that, based on how things are changing. So rate of change is a really important idea, and the first part of our course is a lot to do about rate of change. That's what the derivative is about. The last part of our course is talking about integration, which in some sense you can think of it as the reverse of differentiation, right? Going backwards in some sense. So if you know a rate, to go back and figure out the original amount of the quantity that was there before, you can think of integration as doing that. You can also think of integration as area under a curve, and the area under a curve can have many interpretations as well, so which we will talk about when we get into that. So calculus really deals with the rate of change problem and the area problem. We're going to learn about something called the fundamental theorem of calculus, which is going to connect these two ideas, right? Because it's kind of weird that they are actually connected, right? For a long time, we've been studying these things individually without knowing what they're for. We thought studying speed and studying area were different things. It turns out they're not. They're kind of actually inverse problems of each other. And Newton and Leibniz were two guys who really had a pivotal role in connecting these two ideas with what's called the fundamental theorem of calculus, right? So it connected these two big schools of math into one thing, and so now you can do it in college, right? So if you want to blame someone for why you're here, Newton and Leibniz are pretty much the guys you can blame to connect these two. But it was a really breakthrough. It was a real breakthrough in thought here. Yeah, so that's kind of where we're going, kind of what we're doing. We're measuring how fast things are changing and making predictions from it, and trying to reverse this to make other predictions. That's, in a nutshell, what we're going to be doing. Both the derivative and the integral are limits, which is going to be one of the first topics we talk about. And yeah, that's going to be that.
I have a question.
Yes.
I have the text. So the homework is due tomorrow, so you just suggest that we go to the Marshak Library.
Homework is due tomorrow. We have homework tomorrow?
Don't we?
Just the email, not finished with it.
All right. Homework is due after I complete a topic. Right? I didn't start talking about a topic. So after I complete section 1.1, the homework for section 1.1 is due the next class. Right? So, but yeah, as for the text, you don't need it. As I said, you can borrow it from the library. At the tutoring center, you can have access to a copy. You go to the tutoring center, they'll have copies of the textbook there. You can stay there with the tutor and you'll be able to have the textbook and use it. So it's not important to get it, I don't think. You can get it if you want to, but I wouldn't really recommend it. Other questions? We good? We cool? Does everyone here love math?
Wait,
Is everyone afraid of math?
wait, sir.
Yeah?
So you said all these are going to be uploaded to YouTube, right?
Yes.
What's your channel?
I'll send you the link. When you send me your email, I'll send you the link. All right. Is anyone afraid of math? Like math is
More like intimidating.
intimidating. Math intimidates you?
When you don't know.
Yeah.
I'm afraid when I don't know what's going on.
It looks crazy at the beginning.
Understandable.
All right. Well, as time goes on, I'll give you tips about dealing with that, I guess. And if you do have a real problem with test anxiety, I suggest you take care of that really quickly, because it's not fair when you could understand something and then something silly, but like you being afraid of it chokes you. It's really crazy. You need to go to the Wellness Center. There are tons of resources about test anxiety and all that sort of stuff, but it's actually a big deal, I think, for a lot of people. So don't be ashamed of it. Just realize that you have this problem and know that you need to take care of it. I'll be talking about that more as time goes on, but I actually kind of want to move on now. I'll probably mention some more about that later. Are there any other questions before we move on? Okay, so today I did not come empty-handed. I actually have a present for you guys. First quiz of the semester. I'm so excited. So good. Okay, so you put your stuff away, and the grind starts now. Yes, make sure to give me your questionnaires before you leave. You can hand them in now or later. Did you have a quiz?
I don't have one, thank you.
Do everything. Don't worry, it's just algebra and pre-calc. Everyone knows it, right? Everyone knows that stuff.
I didn't get one.
Have fun. And you have till the end of class, so you hand this to me and your questionnaire when you're done. And after that, I will see you tomorrow.
Oh my God, that's the